Okay, so today again I am back with my lecture on the changing cultural tradition. That is your theme 7 of your history class 11th. So, in my previous lecture, I have discussed with you how the during the end of the 16th century, means with the beginning of the end of the 15th century and with the beginning of the 16th century, already there were some changes that has happened in the three orders that was established by the French society, in which the society was based on privileges. And so uh, at the end of the 14th century to 16th century, there were many changes occurred in the political society as well as the economic society, not only of France but also of the whole Europe. And this related to the first of all emergence of a new form of government, that is a monarchical government, in which the monarch was all powerful. He was having all powerful means he was an autocrat, he was an absolutist rulers, and he was having the powers to legislate, execute, and to do the judiciary. So, a new form of autocratic government was formed in Europe, and in this way, the monarchs became more powerful, and with their rising power, they became more imperialistic. That is, now they wanted to annex the territories of the less powerful countries, and they wanted to merge it with their own territories. Hence, this led to the building of the colonism. Colonism means to conquer the less powerful country and to establish its control over there. And second thing, emergence of the nation states. So how the emergence of the nation states was uh, started, it also started during the end of the 15th and beginning of the 16th century, that when the these monarchs who became autocrats, they became very powerful. Then they started annexing the less powerful states of Europe and thus merging it with its own state. In this way, it led to the formation of the Confederacy of States. And now, because these Confederacy of States, they were ruled by a monarch, so they established a centralized form of government in all these states, and also a uniform law system and uniform taxation. And also they also wanted to give some powers to the people, and in this way a constitution was framed and elected representatives who were elected by their own people, which was known as parliament. And in this way, uh, somewhat powers of the monarchs were shared with the elected representatives. So, and the citizens of that country, they were also given some power in the form of rights. So when the citizens got the right, they first considered as subjects. Now they were considered as citizens because they have the right to maintain their life and dignity in that particular country. So second thing is emergence of nation states, and the third thing is end of feudalism and serfdom. So when this feudalism and serfdom ended, then automatically the power was vested with the monarch and also the elected representatives. Now, in the economic front, what changes have occurred? That first of all, the these some of the um, people who were doing trading and business with the colonies established by their own countries, they became very rich, and with their wealth they have acquired by trading in the colonies. They invested it in their own country, and hence they became industrialists, and they were known as capitalists. And these capitalists were the owner of maximum wealth of their country, and the people who were working on their industries, they were considered as labor force. So these capitalists or the industrialists, they were exploiting their people they are labor class people, and hence the gap widened between the rich industrialists and the poor class people. So a new form of economic system also developed, and also the formation of the guilds. Now, who were the guilds? They were the association of the traders or the producers or the manufacturers who were dealing with the same type of product, and these associations were formed for the fixation of their product and to help the members of their guilds to and to help and to protect the members of the guild from the outside stiff competition, and also uh, to help them in the time of crisis by giving them some financial aid or loan. So this is the new form that had emerged in Europe. That is the political. That what were the political? First of all, monarchs. Okay, instead of feudal lords, now the power was concentrated with the monarch who became an autocrat. So autocratic form of government developed in Europe, which was the monarchs of Europe, and then second is emergence of nation states, and third is end of serfdom and feudal system, and in economic system the capitalism or the capitalist emerged as a great power. Now, all these changes also led to a new ideas, and also it also led to the Renaissance. So, what is Renaissance? Renaissance means rebirth of new ideas, and rebirth of new ideas in all the spheres: political, economic, and social, and even religion. Because at that time, Catholic Church was dominating the whole Europe, and the Pope were very powerful at that time, and the clergymen, and they were dominating or controlling even the lives of these Christian people, and these Christians were forced to uh, accept all the things which were told to them by the popes. Like, for example, they have to pay the taxes, that was a religious tax, the fees. Then they were also forced to give some money to the church, like the sale of indulgences. So these sale of indulgences was a very bad, evil system that prevailed in the Europe during the medieval time, in which the Pope used to, or the clergymen, the priest of the church, they used to sell these indulgences to the common people, saying that if you have committed any sin, you will be get rid of the sin if you purchase this indulgency. So this was a form of extortion of money, and the church was becoming a hub. It was a place of all type of corrupt activities. So when the Renaissance took place, now the focus of the people was shifted towards humanism. That is the concept of humanism instead of theology. So humanism is what? Humanism means to be more practical, uh, and to be more kind towards man, instead of just relying on what the religion says. So this shift was from theology, from religion to humanity. Okay, and uh, uh, this developed the people the concept to ask questions from the church. Means, first of all, the people were afraid to ask any question from the church, because they were afraid that if they will ask any question, then they will be punished, because the church used to give very cruel punishment to those who used to question on anything on related to the religion. But now, with the growing humanism, they started asking the questions to the priest of the church, which were based on their logical reasoning. So just yes, so I have to come to this beginning of a modern age, humanism. uh, Humanism was one of the moment. This started in Italy. So why it started in Italy? It started in Italy because Italy's strategic location, according to Europe, European continent, is that Italy is first of all a peninsular country. It is located towards the southwest, and the ships which are sailing towards the east, or the ships which are sailing towards the west from the east, they have to halt over Italy for some time, and in this way Italy became a center for the exchange of ideas among different people who are coming from different backgrounds and from different races. So one thing is this, and then second thing is that Italy was also a center of learning at that time. Many, especially the cities of Florence and Venice and Padua, they emerged as a center of learning because of the universities that were established. So there were many universities established over there which acted as a center of learning for the people. Which subjects were taught mainly in Italy? They were basically the law, which was related to the mercantile law, because the people who were living in Italy, they were basically merchants and traders, and they were more interested in studying law rather than studying theology. Okay, then sciences, then history. So with humanism developed the means it also developed a feeling among the people to know about their glorious past, that is about the Roman civilization. So through the ruins of the Roman civilization, they started excavating so many things, and they started knowing about their glorious historic past, that how their ancient their ancestors used to live a very glorious life. Okay, and they were living a very luxurious life, and they were living a very lavish life. But during the medieval age, they were restricted to live such a glorious or a lavish life, because the Pope did not want the Christians to live a very luxurious life. They wanted that they should live a very simple life, and whatever extra or surplus they are having, they should donate it to the church. So in this world, church was becoming wealthier, but the people were, even though they were working very hard to earn, and they were earning also, but they were not able to maintain a very good life, because the churches were prohibiting them to do so, and they were telling them to live a very simple life. So when they knew that their ancestors who belonged to the Roman civilization, they were living a very luxurious life, then they simply uh, denied the orders of the church, and they also started living a very luxurious, a very lavish life. Okay, and they were enjoying all the worldly pleasures. So now what is saying, uh, okay, fine. Humanism is the movement. This started in Italy in the 14th century. Italian universities were centers of legal studies, means the law was taught over there. Then Francisco Patrick is known as the father of humanism. So Patrick is considered as the father of humanism. He suggested uh, that the study of law to the ancient Roman culture. The term humanism was first used by Roman lawyer and essayist. Uh, okay, now humanists thought that they are too they were restoring the world civilization after centuries of distress, for they believe that dark age has set in after the collapse of the Roman Empire. So the time period from 11th to 14th century is considered as the dark age in Europe. Why it was considered as the dark age in Europe? Because at that time learning was prohibited by the Roman church. The Roman priests were not allowing the people to learn, to read, and even to do any type of scientific experiments, because they were afraid that if the people will do anything related to science, some experiments and some type of inventions, then they will start questioning the Pope uh, on the basis of logic and science reasoning. Means whatever the pope used to guide them on everything, okay, and by telling them that this is written in the Bible, this is written in the Bible, and the people, they were forced to do whatever the Pope used to tell them. So in this way they were misleading them, and so they were not letting these common people of Europe to study the Bible, to read the Bible, and also they were prohibiting any type of learning for them. So they are not able to read the Bible and understand by their own, and they were not letting them to do any type of scientific experiments, because according to them, if they know that this thing happens according to the science, then they will start asking questions which were based on logical reasoning, and then if the Pope were not able to satisfy them with their answers, then their authority will be challenged. That is why they were this whole age, because the people were kept ignorant. So this whole age is known as dark age. It is considered as dark age by the historians of the Europe, okay. Now, but during 16th century, the people started exploring new sea routes, and through new sea routes, they came across new people of the other continents, like discovery of America. When the discovery of America took place, then and when the European peoples migrated to America, they came across these people of America who were the origins of America. Then they came to know about their culture, their civilization, and in the same way Australia. So they came across so many new people, and in this way they understood that the church was, whatever church was telling them was not exactly true. And then scientific inventions when it took place, that like Copernicus, he already had made a principle during the time of dark ages, that the earth is always at constant motion. It is not only moving on its axis, but it is also revolving around the sun. So in this way the sun is a star, and the earth along with other planets, it's moving around the sun, okay. So what the clergyman used to tell, that the earth is a place of sinners, where the sinners live, and because of the burden of the sinners, the earth is unable to move, and the sun along with other planets, they are revolving around the. So this concept was completely wrong. So but he was afraid that if he'll prove that he has already knew that that this is wrong in front of anyone, and the church will come to know about, then he will be punished, he can be even executed. So that is why. But later on, when the crusade happened, and when the Arab conquered the Constantinople, and then they came to that this much science has been developed during the dark ages, okay. Okay, humanism is an art in the 15th century. Florence was recognized for its prominent Renaissance men. So, what is a Renaissance man? So, Renaissance man is a man which is overall learned person. Means not only learned, but he has so many artistic qualities in him. He possesses so many artists. Means he is you can say he is a versatile man. Versatile. He is having all the qualities, like he is a learned person, he knows science, and he knows the even the literature, the history, the geography, and everything. And he is also good painter, musician, and all that. So overall personality. So that is a Renaissance man. Now. Humanism art is the Florence was recognized. Okay, this I have already told you. And Dante Alighieri, an eminent poet and philosopher of Italy, who wrote on religious themes. Um, he is known for his classical The Divine Comedy. So who has written this Divine Comedy? The Dante has written. He was an eminent poet and philosopher, and he did a sarcasm on the church, Catholic Church, by writing a poem that is a Divine Comedy. So he has written full novel on it, and he sarcased on the clergymen. Now, humanist literature. Humanist bream by the early 15th century. The term humanist was used for masters who taught grammar, then history, rhetoric, poetry, history, and moral philosophy. The Latin word humanities, from which humanities was derived, had been used by many centuries ago to mean culture. This style was not drawn from the connected with religion and emphasized on skills developed by individual through discussion and debate. So humanism is a new concept which evolved during the 16th century, in which a person should be, first of all, he should possess all the skills, and he is a learned man, and he knows about science and literature and history, and then he becomes a person who is capable of reasoning, which is based on logic. And he simply doesn't believe on anything. He does not have blind faith on whatever the Pope used to tell them. He used to question them, and after um, debates and discussion, he comes to a conclusion that this is the thing that has to be put up with. Okay, now the revival of the Italian cities. Now, next point that Italy became a center point of humanism is the revival of Italian cities. Western Europe was being reshaped by feudal bonds. So, what is that revival of Italian city was? First of all, Italy was a part of Rome. You know that during you have already studied an empire in an empire across three continents, that the Rome emerged as a superpower, and it has established its empire over three continents, that is the whole Europe, till Central Asia, and then towards Northern Africa. And this Rome was a part of Italy, means it was the capital of Italy. So, but later on, during the medieval ages, when the France, or you can say first of all it was Gaul, the Germanic tribes which were living over there, who considered themselves as Frankish, and they renamed Gaul as France. Then they first of all declared themselves as independent, and later on they started annexing the other European countries. Even England became the colony of France, and a society based on privileges that was known as the three orders was imposed, that was based on the vassalage system, feudal, and the serfdom. And in this way, after the disintegration of the Roman Empire, Italy also lost its importance. Okay, but after the 16th century, During the Renaissance period, Italy again emerged as a superpower and it became a hub of the center of art and learning and also a center of Renaissance. So again, and how it by when the people of Italy they again exploring their the ruins of their Roman civilization. So again they started exploring the ruins of the Roman civilization and they got to know that their historical past was very glorious and the ancestors of the Rome they were considered as the most powerful rulers like Julius Caesar and then Octavian Caesar who established Principate and Trizen and all that and even the Emperor Constantine who established Constantinople as its capital and declared Christianity as a state religion. So, in this way, when they came to know about all these things, then they understood that whatever the Catholic, the churches are telling to them is all wrong because they were the one who established the Roman civilization and their ancestors were living a very glorious life, so they should also live like that. Okay, now so okay, so I was here. So Western Europe was being reshaped by feudal bonds and unified under the Latin Church and Eastern Europe under the Byzantine Empire. And Islam was creating a common civilization further west. Italy was weak and fragmented. The Poles on the Italian coast were revived. From the 14th to the end of the 17th century, towns were growing in many countries of Europe. A distinct urban culture also developed. Florence, Venice, and Rome became center of art and learning. The invention of printing at the same time made books and prints available to many people. A sense of history also developed in Europe. Religion came to be seen. Okay, so then the invention of the printing press finally. So I have told you that what were the factors which were responsible for the Renaissance to be emerged only in Italy were first of all Italy's strategic location, that is the geographical location. So the ships when they are sailing for the purpose of trade they have to first of all halt over there in the Italian ports for the purpose of fueling and thus the exchange of ideas goes on between the people of Italy as well as from the people from the outside world and this ultimately related to a new form of concept that is humanism which was based on humanism rather than theology. Then second is Italy was a place of art and learning and the main important cities were the Venice and Florence and also Padua which was the main center for the learning for law. Many universities were established over there for the purpose of teaching law and legal studies and then the third reason is that many scientific inventions were made during this time and especially the people of the Italy started exploring new cities and new places and they are coming across these people and then last and then when they came to know about their glorious ancient past that they were the once the part of the Roman civilization. The Rome has established its empire over three continents and then also crusades. So crusades were also the region that is the during the for 13th century to 14th century when the crusades or the religious war which was started by the Christians on the Arabs, it ultimately resulted into the exchange of ideas and then the counter wars by the Arabs. And when the Arabs conquered Constantinople, then they came to know from their churches so many research work on science were written by their uh, eminent writers like Ptolemy and then Copernicus and all these who have already written so many books on the astronomy, but they were afraid to reveal it because they were afraid that the if they will reveal it, then the pope's authority will be questioned and the pope can even execute them. Okay, so all these were the things. And the artist of the Italy like Michelangelo and all that, so they also did a very commendable job, and they brought a revolution in the art. How they brought the revolution in the art? By introducing new techniques in the form of art and sculpture. Okay, um, so which was not used. Okay, now printing press. So printing press, when Johann Gutenberg he invented the printing press. He was from Germany in 1455. Then the first printing press was set up in Constantine in Europe, and with the invention of the printing press, the Bible can be printed in very less time, and in an year 150 copies of the Bibles were printed and were circulated in Europe, and the people who used to take the help from the Pope or the clergyman to read out the verses of the Bible and to interpret. Now they could read it by themselves without anyone's help and could understand them. So when the Bible was circulated in Europe, now those who were educated people, they were reading and they were understanding the Bible by themselves, and in this way they came to know that whatever clergyman or the Pope were telling to them, that was all wrong, and it was just to extort money from them. Okay, so this also made them clear that instead of completely basing themselves to the Pope, they should now develop a new their own concepts, their own ideas, and their own logical thinking. Okay, the Arabs, then Arab contribution was these Arabs when they conquered the Constantinople and made it as a part of Turkey. Then whatever so many manuscripts they have discovered when they went into the churches or in the monasteries, and these manuscripts they then translated it into their own language, and then they circulated in different parts of the world, and thus the people came to know that even during the dark ages so many scientific work has been done by these scientists, but they did not reveal it in any to anyone. Okay, because they were afraid of the church. The Arab's contribution in the 14th century, Arab translated ancient Greek and Roman texts. They called Plato as Aflatun and Aristotle as Aristo in Arabic. Noted Muslim writers during this time were Ibn Sina in Latin, and Darushit in Latin, Averroes in Latin. Ptolemy wrote in Greek, Almagest as an on astronomy. Muslim writers were regarded as men of wisdom in the Italian world because they only did the work of translation, and then the people came to know about all these books which were hidden from them for centuries. Then rationalization. So what is rationalization? Rationalization means practical. Now they have developed a practical approach. Their approach of thinking was not based on the religion. Their approach on thinking was based on practicality, and according to them, showing kindness toward human is far much better than giving money to the churches, means as a grant. Okay, So viewpoint is this, that it developed the ideas among the people and they abandoned the superstition, means the church was trying to spread superstition. It was trying to spread exorcism. Exorcism means that all these things, that they were trying to extort the money, which was based on their superstition, their ignorance, and then they were manipulating the people and they were trying to extort the money from them. It paved the way for new invention which changed the way of life. Rationalist art was there thousands years after the fall of Rome. Fragments of art were discovered. मतलब in the ancient Rome, means they started going towards the ruins of the ancient. They started discovering the ruins, exploring it, and then they found so many art forms, and through these art form a new form of art developed. The anatomy, geometry, physics, as well as a strong sense of what was beautiful gave a new quality to Italian art, which was to be called realism and which continued till the 19th century. Now, rationalist literature was also there. The greatest revolution of the 16th century was the mystery of technology of printing. For this, Europeans were indebted to other people, the Chinese for printing technology, and to Mongol rulers, because European traders and diplomats had become familiar. So they means when these Mongols and these Arab traders, they invaded some of their territories, especially the Roman civilization, and made it as their part of their empire. Then they also introduced so many things to their culture, and ultimately they came to know so many things from them, their way of doing administration, their way of even their science like firearms, and all these were introduced by the Arabs and the Mongols, and also some of their like compass and the abacus. Knowledge of geometry helped them. So geometry were now, first of all they were just making the paintings which were based on the religion, but now their concept of painting art form changed and it was based on humanism. So whatever they were painting or making the sculpture, it was based on the human feelings rather than on the religion, like the Pieta. Pieta, which was painted by Michelangelo, he was a very famous painter, and in which in this sculpture painting, Pieta, he tried to show the emotions of Mother Mary when she was holding the dead body, the corpse of her beloved son Jesus. So the what emotions, like a simple woman, if if a son dies and a son is lying on the hands of the mother, then what emotions? So these emotions were predicted in his sculpture painting by Michelangelo in his famous painting theater. So and then second thing was the geometry. So with the help of the geometry, they tried to give the shapes of the body. Then studying the human skeleton system, that is anatomy. So with the help of the anatomy, they try to give the exact figure, exact to the human figure. Okay, means exact structure to the human figure, its physical features. So most emphasis was on physical feature, and then oil painting rather than the these watercolors they were started using, and that added colors and even more shine and emotions that can be shown. Okay, so this this created a revolution, art revolution. Okay, so many famous painters came during this time, like Michelangelo, then and Michelangelo Last Supper was also very, in which the Christ was showing with his follower with the Last Supper theater, and the dome and the structure. So not only in the painting, there was also a revolution in the form of architect. So the domes that were made during this time, they were constructed in such a beautiful manner कि they were very much artistic, and still they are the, you can say, somewhat undoubtedly they are still a beautiful form of architecture. Okay, so for some of the like you can say systemic, okay, now scientific viewpoint. Scientific revolution was another characteristic of this era, and not the god but the nature. Means, first of all, they were saying that everything is created by God, but with the development of the science, they started questioning, and they said that it is not the god but it is the nature that has developed everything. So it is the nature, okay, which is the source of all creation. Now, development of science, fine. So this you can see, scientists use the method of experimentation, observation, and new thoughts, which was just contrary to the Christian beliefs. Now, development of science. So scientific discoveries of Copernicus, Galileo, who was the one who invented the uh, Galileo, he invented the telescope, and with the help of the telescope, he used to see stars, planets in a more closer manner, and can tell about them. Okay, that they were not the creation of God, but they are the super, means they are the celestial objects. Now, then the Newton, who told us about the theory of gravitational pull, and the gravitational force which is exerted by the Earth. Uh, the theory of Earth, and then life sciences. So, like Darwin, Darwin also put the theory of life sciences, which also became a subject of humanism. Then the theory of Earth as a part of the sun-centered system was made popular by Kepler's cosmographical mystery, and Alt Domitilo made many lifelike statues in 1460. Vesalius, a Belgian professor of medicine, was the first to dissect the human body. So the human body dissection also started, which ultimately brought a revolution in the surgery. Okay, and means the people, they got operated in during this time. Leonardo da Vinci had an imagic range of interest from botany and autonomy to mathematics and art. So you can see such a versatile person, Leonardo da Vinci. So Leonardo da Vinci has painted which paintings? Mona Lisa. It's a very magnificent masterpiece art. Okay, still, and it is, people when they see Mona Lisa, then they are surprised, because from whichever direction you see Mona Lisa, it seems that she is staring at you. Means, whichever direction, a live painting, a three-dimensional painting at that time during the 16th century. Okay, uh, and the Last Supper. Michelangelo's Brunaldo painted the Sistine Chapel, made the sculpture of the Pieta and the dome of St. Peter's Church. Aspirations of women. Now, the women were also very much prominent, and they started advocating for their rights. Ultimately, they started advocating for their political rights, which started with the French Revolution in 1789, which is also known as suffragette movement. And the hopes and the desires of the women were very great during the humanism. Okay, now they don't want it to be dependent on their male counterparts. Uh, so the new ideas of the individual and citizenship excluded women. So women were considered as what? Women were considered as passive citizens. They were not the regarded as active citizens. So they were not given any political rights. But now they started advocating for their political rights, which ultimately uh, started with the uh, feminist movement, the suffragette movement. A few women were intellectually very creative and sensitive about the importance of humanist education. Okay, now Reformation movement. So, what was Reformation movement? Reformation movement here means to reform, means to improve, some means to improve whatever shortcomings you are, and here improvement relates to the improvement in the Catholic Church. So it relates to the Reformation movement. Now why it started, why the Catholic Church started to improve itself? Retrospective means to see what shortcomings you are in in yourself and how to improve your shortcomings, so that people don't ignore you, and so that people should like you. So this Reformation movement by the Catholic Church started during this time, during the time of Renaissance. And this happened when a clergyman, Martin Luther, he was a very learned person, and he was uh, very much learned in theology. And when he was doing his thesis work, when he was completing his thesis work on the theology, then he had an opportunity to go in the Vatican City and to live with the Pope. So when he went to the Vatican Church, he found out that these popes and these clergymen, they themselves are living a very lavish life, and they are telling the people to lead a very simple life, and lot of corruption is there. When he saw all this corruption and the wrongdoings of these clergymen, so when he came outside, and he wrote 95 theses. So in his thesis he revealed everything about the life and the living of these clergymen. And when the people they read their 95 theses, then they came to know that how corrupt the Catholic churches are. And so this led to a new protest movement by the common people who were very much exploited by these churches. They started revolting, they started protesting, especially the peasants who were overburdened by their taxes in the form of the religious taxes and the extortion of money. They started protesting it, and this led to the form of a movement within the Christianity, and it is known as Protestant movement, which was led by Martin Luther. And then some other were also joined, like William Tyndale. He was also Lutheran, and they all protested. A new form of sect evolved within the Christianity, and this new sect was known as Protestants. So these Protestants, they defy all the rules which are laid down by the Catholic Church. They only believe in Bible, and they don't believe in any middleman, like they completely defy the authority of the Pope, and they have their own churches, and their father is a married man rather than a bachelor or a swimming. They don't believe in monastery and all that, and they believe that God can be achieved if they have full complete faith on the God. Okay, the the okay the church mainly interested in the life of a people. Reformation movement was a protest movement that took place in the 16th century against the church and the pope. So church is also known as Catholic Church is also known as with the name as office of papacy. In 1517, a young German monk called Martin Luther, 1583 to 15, sorry, 14th 83 to 15 46, uh, launched a campaign against the Catholic Church. He asked his followers to have complete faith in God, for faith alone could guide them to the right life and entry into heaven. Okay, so what were the causes of the Reformation movement? First of all, autocracy of the church and Catholic corruption. Luther argued that a person did not need priests to establish contact with God. मतलब उन्होंने कहा कोई हमें मीडिएटर की जरूरत ही नहीं है, ईश्वर की हम खुद उपासना कर रहे हैं, ईश्वर हम अपनी उपासना से हम पा सकते हैं, हमें इसके लिए कोई मीडिएटर बिचौलिए की जरूरत नहीं है कि वो हमें बताए कि ईश्वर कहाँ है, ठीक है ना. इन 1517 he wrote the 95 theses challenging the authority of the church. However, Luther did not support radicalism. The Catholic Church itself did not escape the impact of these ideas and began to reform itself again. That is known as retrospective. Means when the people they were very much against, when they came to know about the life of the clergyman and the pope, that they were living a very lavish life. Their life was full of corruption and wrongdoing. Then they started protesting them. It was protested by everywhere, and the authority of the church itself was in question. Then to survive, to survive this religion, this Catholic Christianity, the church, instead of waging a war against its own people, it thought it should be better if they should reform their church and they should reform their Catholic religion. So how? By giving some liberty. First of all, Catholic Church was very rigid. Means whatever the religious law has been laid down to govern the society, it was not means at all. It was not in favor of changing it. But later on, during the Protestantism, it changed some of the rigid laws, and now the marriage was no more a sacred. First of all, marriage was considered as a something very sacred, and it could not be broken away in this life. But later on, during the Protestantism, Catholic churches also gave the permission that if the marriage is not working out, then it is just like a contract and a party can sue for a divorce. Okay, so in this way, some rigidity was over, some liberty was given by the church. And then second thing was um, fine it also said ki yes, you can also enjoy the worldly pleasures to the people. First of all, they were prohibiting the common people to enjoy the worldly pleasures. And then they also did some reformation in the monasteries. Men and women monasteries were established separately. Now they were no more living together. And then okay, so means some, and they also started helping the poor people. First of all, they were taking all the money for the building and the construction of big churches, which were known as cathedrals. But now, instead of building the big churches, they started utilizing that money for helping the poor and the needy people and establishing hospitals and schools for the poor people. So in this way, when the Reformation started by the Catholic Church, then the people who have gone away from the Catholic Church, they again started joining the Catholic Church. Okay, so this was Renaissance attributed led to the Reformation movement. So William Tyndale, he also wrote some. He was an English Lutheran, and he translated the Bible into English in 15 in 1506, defended Protestantism. He said that clergy had paused the process order and meaning of the ancient text, particularly because it was in Greek and Latin, inaccessible to the common man. Consequences of Reformation. Okay, so means so many people also wrote about, like Niccolo Machiavelli wrote about the human nature. Fine. Then what is the result of the Renaissance? The result of the Renaissance is that first of all, the Renaissance did not happen in a day. It was a gradual process and it was a culmination of many events, and ultimately it led to the Renaissance and to the Reformation movement. So what were the consequences? Now that the horizon of the people and opened, and they were more open to the new fields rather than basing their whole concentration over the theology and the study of religion. They were more open to the other, like history world as a very main subject, and for the studying the humanities. And then second thing is that law, study of the legal studies, geography, and then other subjects related to humanities, economics, and also then more knowledge for their ancient past. They were more curious. Archaeology also became a very main important subject, because through archaeology they were trying to excavate the remains of the past and trying to reconstruct the history of the past. And then the development of the science and technology, then more practical and rational approach towards the life, um, and then also the new a sect within the Catholicism, that is Protestantism. So Protestantism in Christianity and the Reformation. Again, the Catholic Church also reformed itself so that it should escape from extinction. So I think so, students. In the 18th century, the sense of the individual would be expressed in a political form, in the belief that all individuals, so rather than means the individuality, also and identity also became important rather than commonness. There was more emphasis on the individuality and the identity of a person. So these all developments was that in the different regions of Europe started to have their separate sense of identity based on language. Okay, students, I think so. You have clearly understood about the this chapter, which was related to the contribution changing in the cultural tradition. Thank you very much. Hope that you have understood, and you have you have understood very nicely, and you have liked it the way I have told you. Thank you once again for your cooperation, for listening to my lectures. Okay.